and freedom.
Right on.
And I'm trying to end slavery.
Okay, right
abolish
on.
slavery in the United States and around this world.
A 21st century abolitionist.
Yeah.
Right on. At the other end, a man that needs no introductions, but I would be amiss not to introduce the brother, my dear brother Gideon. Brother Gideon, how are you today?
Peace and blessings to you, my beloved brother
Thank you, dear
Yanga, and to this panel.
Thank you, dear brother, and we give you the shaloms, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. Yes, sir. Police misconduct. I think I'm going to open up telling a little bit about my story.
Yes, sir.
To kind of set the mood and the pace for things. The night of September 17th, or the early morning of September 18th, the people know that I am a community activist and a revolutionary. One of our programs are to feed the people. I had my lieutenant prepping our truck to get ready to go feed the people and to go over the pre-trip inspection to make sure we were running correctly. We were on private property in a parking lot, and a police officer, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know the legalities of giving his name and things of that nature, and some of these cases are still open, came up and asked for his identification. So he complied. After giving him the police the identification, he attempted to walk away. For whatever reason, the police wasn't satisfied with that and told him don't walk away. He attempted to walk on the other side of the truck where there was a little more light. You know what I'm saying? In our communities, in the black communities, we have a history with police. So we know about getting caught in dark spots. So he walked around to have a little more light. At this time, I was riding up. As soon as I was riding up, getting out of the cab, I seen my lieutenant going down to his knees and a red beam on him. Yeah. So I go tell his sister, who was my chief of staff, and when she came out and asked what was going on in exchange occurred, she, you know, what the F is going on here, this and that. Some words were exchanged between her and the police officer. After the words were exchanged and I could see it getting heated, I instructed her to run to get the camera. When she ran to go get the camera, the police officer chased her. Chased her into her hotel room and didn't allow the door to be closed. She had on her night garments, her nightgown. At this time, I called his supervisor. I called the police on the police. I called 911 and told them we need a police officer down here because we have a rogue police officer. And he needs to be stopped. I was instructed, I stood in the door, I told the police, hey man, cool out. Because he was grabbing on her and he was exposing her. So I told him to cool out. He instructed me to step back. When I stepped back, this is when she was pulling back, he punched her in the chest. Yeah. And then grabbed her again. I guess he was trying to get her to submit or something. And so, me being me, I stepped in.
Yes, sir.
And he and I had this altercation. Long story short, I was jumped on. I was charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, interfering with arrest, something like this, another charge. Went to court. And when I was asked what happened, I told what happened. I think that the statement was, and I'm grateful, and I will say that some of it had to do with it being a black woman judge. When I told the story, my last statement was, like I told the woman, had I not, it was too reminiscent of slavery. It was just too reminiscent of slavery. We had a 6-foot, 200-something pound white boy jumping on a 5-foot-something sister with no clothes on, her clothes coming off, she's being exposed, screaming. Had I not stepped in, my fear wasn't jail, my fear was returning to my mother.
Exactly.
Telling my mother that I sit by and watch a woman.
That's right.
And this is a woman of any color.
That's right.
And like I told the police officer when I was being put in the car and the supervisor, I said, had you come up and seen me attacking a 5-foot-something white woman, I wouldn't have made it to the police station.
Exactly.
Right there on the spot, I've been dead.
Exactly.
So there's too much power. So my question is, when did the police officers stop being the people that served and protected our community and start being the agents of repression and the agents of a police state, which all in my mind showing that we're going to some fascist type of thing anyway.
That's right.
But when did this change come about, and what can we do to stop the change and at the very least throw some type of wrench in this mechanism to stop these cogs from turning like that? Well, to my right, I think Sister Sharon has an interesting story to share with us, if you don't mind, about some of the same things that that you went through with dealing with the police. And then after that, I'd like to open it up for a general discussion.
Yes, sir.
So we can throw some things back and forth and get some exchange of dialogue.
Excellent. Well, about 8 years ago, my daughter had some friends over, and I was the type of mother that, wanted all the kids to come to my house.
Sure.
So I could protect them and they wouldn't be out on the streets, and honestly, you know, just protect them from whatever, other people, the police. I didn't know what I was trying to protect them from. But I guess she was in college. She was 19 years old. She brought over some people that I had never met before. Not a big deal. I welcome everybody into my house.
Right.
And they were there for a few hours, hung out, and they left. And I left. It was a Wednesday night, just happened to be, and I was going to pick up my youngest daughter at youth group at the church, picked her up, and I came back. And my daughter that was 19, of course, cannot legally drink anything and drive. Well, she had had a beer earlier in the day, and she was not there. So I got upset, called her, said, get home, or maybe stay where you are, I'm going to come get you, because we did have a lot of police in our small town. And she had been in trouble before, not for anything big, but just been pulled over a lot. Being a white child with like maybe 10 black people in our entire community, she would get pulled over and harassed because she was friends with all races.
What community is this we're talking about?
It's in North Georgia. It's Dahlonega, North Georgia, Lumpkin County.
I'm familiar
I'm
with
sure
that.
you're familiar with the area. Very conservative, very few.
What's the speed limit? So I know to do like 10 miles over when
Yeah.
passing through.
Right. Just let me make a suggestion. Don't even come to Dahlonega. Just bypass it, because we've got police and we've got the Appalachian Drug Task Force and we've got the GBI and we've got everybody just kind of congregated in our little area, and it's insane at this point. But we can get to that later. The bottom line is these kids left, and I had her come home. We got in bed. She had to go to college the next day. She was in school. And at 4 a.m. that morning, I get on my bedroom door, not on the front door.
Wow.
Okay? They, I guess, think we're some big baller drug dealers who leave our doors wide open at night out in the country. And I hit the floor because I thought something was going on with my children. You know, I have people coming in and out all the time. I didn't at all think that it was going to be, 8 armed Gestapo SWAT team pointing guns at me. So I just looked at him and I said a bad word, and I know I can't say it here, but I said a few choice words.
Right.
Are you doing in my house? And they showed a search warrant, and they immediately said, where is Brittany, which is my oldest daughter? And I said, she lives in the apartment downstairs. It's not an apartment, but, whatever.
Right.
It's a bedroom. And they went down before I should have gone down in front of them now, but they went storming down. They couldn't find the lights, so they were using flashlights.
Wow.
Okay, and they came in on her, and she didn't know what was going on. At first, her thought was, somebody's in our house out in the middle of the country, and they've killed my parents and my sister upstairs, and now they're coming for us.
Right.
That was her thought. So she's freaking out, and they pulled her out of bed. She's got real long hair, and they pulled her out of bed with a gun to her head and walked her up the stairs. Like
What was
this.
the warrant for?
Pot.
They did all of that for pot?
Yes.
Come on.
Marijuana. One of the kids that had been in our house got in trouble for pot when he left our house in town.
Yeah.
Sure.
He, I guess, was a known dealer. I didn't know that. I'd never met him before. He had a backpack. He looked like a college kid.
Sure.
And that was a question that I brought up that night. After this was all done, everything had calmed down, and nobody died at the moment. Then I started asking questions as they're searching my house for 2 hours looking for pot, and found 1.5 grams, may I add. That's all they found. Enough to roll a decent joint.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay.
And I was like, so what you're telling me is I have to do your job for you. When I go to pick up a kid at school with my youngest daughter tomorrow to come back and work on this science project, I need to frisk them and look in their book bag to make sure that they can get in my car and come in my house. And if I find something, you actually want me to call you?
Right.
It ain't happening.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And so that's kind of what woke me up to it. And then I started doing research. I thought, I'm not going to let this happen. And I started talking in this very calm mountain town and raising a little hell. Heck, I'm sorry. And what I did is I started telling people the story, and they knew us. I was a business owner, Chamber of Commerce ambassador. Okay, so they knew who I was. And I said, so we're not criminals.
Right.
Why do you think everybody else they're arresting's a criminal? You see what I'm saying? And
exactly.
I used that. And so what we did is started getting together a group of people and trying to vote out and find another sheriff and another magistrate court judge who gave the warrant and have them replaced.
Let me ask you a question.
And how much time was she looking at?
She was looking at, because they found also a grow light in my house that I'd had from years and years and
Wait a
years
minute.
ago.
A light.
A light, like something that you would see here, but not like a marijuana grow light, not like the ones that you see like in grow houses, okay? It was just a grow light that you can buy at Walmart.
Right.
And so they not only charged her with misdemeanor possession of the 1.5 grams, they charged her with distribution and manufacturing because of the grow light.
Because of a light.
How they will do it?
26 years.
She was looking at 26
And
years.
the reason that they do that I found out, is because they don't want to have to prove their case.
Right.
It's going to be difficult. Look, if they had come in on her at 1.5 grams, I may have fought that in court.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you're looking at 26 years at a 19-year-old kid, you're not going to fight that in
You're
court.
gonna
You're
plea
going
out.
to take what they want to give you.
You're gonna plea out.
And you're going to plea out to the crime that you should have been charged with to begin with.
Right. Right.
And
One
so
that
they
you could've
never
beat.
have to go to court. Right. So they never have to prove their case.
But you said something that was interesting. And I get to shoot this to my brother Gideon. You said y'all were going to do what to the sheriff in the magistrate court?
We were going to kick them out of
How
office.
were you going to kick them out of office?
Vote them out.
So you're saying you were going to vote? So there is some benefit for people to be involved with a political system.
Absolutely.
Even when dealing with police misconduct or things like that. So, okay, I'm
can be
making sure
done.
that I heard that correctly. Oh.
I
got to use the gavel.
The judge is gavel,
right.
gavel,
Point
and I haven't
taken.
even said
That's what
it.
that
That's
means.
an insider thing that you don't
Okay.
know about.
All right.
But go ahead.
But it did. It worked. We went for the first time ever that night after voting, and everybody voted, and we went out. I went to the courthouse because I wanted to see if we actually were able to accomplish what we tried to accomplish. He got voted. The other guy got voted in 2-1. He lost by a landslide. We kicked the sheriff out. We got a new sheriff that understands children, seems to care about them, actually was the resource officer at the school that we got voted in there. And then 2 years later, when it was time for the magistrate court, he was gone too. So it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Wow.
Man, that's interesting.
Oh, okay. What I'll add on that is, I have my own, I guess, personal story. When I was about, I was 18 years old, and we got pulled over, me and several friends. We were all about the same age, just recently graduated from high school. We were pulled over driving in his 76 Caprice Classic. And he had a fresh paint job on it, and we're young. We got the music in there. We're having a good time. We're rolling. We got pulled over by 5 police officers. All of them had their guns drawn. They ordered all of us out of the car one at a time. I don't know if you've seen this on the movies or shows, but they ordered the driver out. Put your hands out. You get out. Right, exactly. One at a time. All of us had to get out of the vehicle, walk backwards, get down on the ground. We get arrested. They could put cuffs on us. And after they completely searched the whole vehicle, and it's traumatizing. You're 18,
absolutely.
you're just a kid. You got all these officers with guns pointed on you, and you're like, for what?
Right.
And so they put us up against a wall, and they took pictures of all of us, and they put us in a gang file.
I knew that was the thing coming there.
Yeah, and so we got an attorney, and and sued. But they always find ways. They look into people's past. Let's say if you had got arrested for some, it could be something completely minor, and they use it to try to, destroy your character and make you seem like you're some big bad person. But
isn't this a part of it though? To my thing, is it part of their job now, the police now, to try to instill that type of terror in us?
Absolutely.
Right.
Are they trying to make us be afraid of them?
And it's going on now more than ever before. I went through a sleeping period, I think, in the 90s in my own personal way, and being young and distracted at this thing and this different things. Absolutely. And now that I, started chairing this committee and wanting to become more involved in the community and actually trying to empower people to resist this stuff, then when you start going down the rabbit hole, you start learning more and more of what's really going on and seeing the actual data and the statistics of it. We have more racial profiling going on than we had back then. You would think that we'd make progress.
Exactly.
But we are living in a police state.
You say
absolutely.
more now than back
Absolutely.
In the United States,
Absolutely.
we are in a complete police state.
Absolutely.
The war on drugs. Well, the war on drugs
Absolutely.
is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. That we have police and we have federal agents and we have Homeland Security that are profiting off of this so-called war on drugs. It's an excuse to target us and to throw us into to target poor people.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's basically they've criminalized the whole
Excellent.
bottom 20%
Thank
of the
you.
population.
Teach.
We have over 65 million people in the United States who now have criminal records. Wow. And it's not by accident.
Right.
It's like once you start learning more about it, of what's really going on, it's strategic and it's
Yes,
planned.
absolutely.
And from defund, we're having a rally tomorrow or Monday. Yeah, it is tomorrow. And it's around education. In the state of Georgia, they cut over $7.6 billion from our kids' education over the past 10 years. That's not by accident. That's by design.
Yes.
We have over 50% in certain communities. We have over 50% dropout rate. We have standardized tests. I know I'm trying to drifting off in other things, but what I'm trying to show you is that it's all connected. It's all involved.
I'm sorry, go ahead. So with these budget cuts, what I'm curious about is, like you said, how they have cut the budget for education. How much have they increased it for police? I know you and Sharon and I, we were out talking earlier on the break, and you were saying that within the small town you live in, at 15 mil, 10 of that is allocated to police and other little government, judicials and things of that nature.
When you start, when you start reviewing the budget, the Georgia budget, and besides the national budget, that's where the majority of our tax dollars are going. Wow. It's going to the police.
Wow.
And
it's
then
going
you
to
bring
prisons.
in civil forfeitures, and bring in. I mean, it's just a huge.
They can target you if let's say you have if you have marijuana in your house, even a small amount. They have seizure laws,
Right.
That they can take your home.
Exactly.
They can take your
could have
car.
taken my house if they had. If my daughter hadn't, she was 19, she knew better already, and she just said, anything you find in the house is mine.
Right.
Because she didn't want her home that she grew up in to be taken.
Be snatched. Right.
And so she was going to take the rap at 19 years old.
Oh, she
which,
was down. She said, anything you find.
Anything you find in here is mine. Knowing her mom, that was probably a good idea. No,
But what we have now is a meshing of the war on terror and the war on drugs. And that money and resources from all these people who are coming back from Iraq and the military are donating now to our police departments.
Right.
So our police departments have become more militarized. They've just recently received access to drones. So the drones are going
Police department.
Yes, just
They
about
have
every police
tanks.
department now.
Right.
And everything.
They have the capabilities now. They have drones. They're going to be flying around our communities. So that's another thing that's completely outrageous.
So, the very thing, I'm sorry, because
Okay,
I get
sorry.
so amped. So the very thing that we were worried about, is militarization in our streets, our citizens becoming, military, is and one of the reasons that the police department was, from my understanding, set up is the very thing that's happening now. Our police departments are becoming
Militarized.
Militarized. So I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. We have to end the war on drugs. It's just a complete excuse. It's an excuse, and it's a way for them to make money.
It's the
that
new
money
Jim
could
Crow.
be used to that money could be used to educate our kids.
Yes.
It could be used to provide health care for everyone. I mean, it could be used for so many other different social programs to help people instead of just paying cops to have nice, shiny, flashy lights, and to have vehicles that go and bust in people's homes, and laser lights, and all these ridiculous toys they have.
Right.
Because think about it, they're waging war on just regular people.
Exactly.
We're not
nonviolent.
we're nonviolent people.
Right.
We're not terrorists.
Right.
And once you see the data of the overt racial profiling that's going on across this country, it's sickening. It just makes you sick. And so I just want more and more people to start waking up to it. I mean, look at the state of Georgia, my friend. I mean, that's
This
just
the
ridiculous.
ACLU report, marijuana in black and white.
Look at that, Fulton County.
In Fulton
Yes.
County?
And so the black represents us, right?
9%.
Right, the black
Lord
is,
have mercy.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
if y'all-
Incarceration rate
I don't know if
for
y'all seen it.
marijuana
Look at this
offenses.
here. This is the arrest rate. This is crazy. So my question is, because a lot of times we know the problems. A lot of times, but you know what? Before we get into that, did you want to read an excerpt?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there's a new book that I would suggest people, if they want to, research further. It's Radley Balco's. It's Rise of the Warrior Cop.
You hold it up a little bit.
It's the militarization of America's police force. There's a lot of books out there, but this is a really good one. This is just something that hit me when I started reading, and it's like, how did we get here? And it's just a question I have for people. How did we evolve from a country whose founding statesmen were adamant about the dangers of armed standing government forces, a country that enshrined the Fourth Amendment in the Bill of Rights and revered and protected the age-old notion that the home is a place of privacy and sanctuary, to a country where it has become acceptable for armed government agents dressed in battle garb to storm private homes in the middle of the night, not to apprehend violent fugitives or thwart terrorist attacks, but to enforce laws against nonviolent consensual activities. And that just really hit me, and it's something that I ask myself every day. How the heck did we get here?
How did we get here?
And how are we going to get out of it?
Well, that's the question I pose. And I know our dear brother Gideon has been very silent down there at the end. You're a host, you don't have to be invited to chime in.
Oh,
anytime,
well,
brother.
let me just say, and I've been enthralled by the conversation. I have my stories, of course. You can't be a brother and not
have
But
one.
how it started, that, and from my research, is that they, being the fraternal order of the police, started out of the Klan. Because after the Klan morphed, they never disbanded. After they took off the robes and put on the suits and the ties, they began to join paramilitary organizations, which a police force is, which is what they were from the beginning, but they were designed from its inception to keep us at bay.
Yes.
So they're still
Doing the same. I just want to throw in here now, just like my man KRS-One says in his whoop whoop. He says, officer, overseer, officer, overseer. So
Bingo.
just to throw that in there.
Well, and in my little story, briefly, it was not a one years ago. This is relatively recent, and the people that have been devotees to the program that I produce, no, I was just pulling my trailer up to the studio right here, these Comcast community station studio, and I had a flat tire less than a mile away. And I looked at the situation with the tire. I said, if I can just make it to the station, I'll be good, because I can leave there and go fix my tire. Well, I made it. But then as I turned into the parking lot, this black car, Honda, followed me into the parking lot. So I thought somebody wanted to help. So I get out, big smile, everything. What, my brother, how you doing? This white guy steps out, and hate was just radiating off of because his look, it wasn't a look of help. It's like, and so I'm looking at this guy and said, look, can I help you, or do you want to help me? He said, what are you doing destroying these streets?
Wow.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
said, what? He said, you out here destroying the streets. So I look at this dude that's got a blue jacket on, white shirt under, blue pants. So I'm like, let me go and do what I need to do. He said, I'm getting ready to have you arrested. Because I had turned away. I'm saying, this dude here.
He wasn't a police officer?
Turns out he was the chief of Chambly Police, where these studios right there. I'm sitting in the parking lot, so I'm like, what? He said, let me see your ID. I said, who are you?
Yeah.
He had his radio. He called in for backup. So I said, man, let me go get my ID. As the Most High would have it, I had left my wallet, forgot my wallet. So I'm over there with my hand under my seat. And the other guy
asking to get shot.
and homie rolls up. And so he said, he's over there under his seat. I said, I'm just looking. They came and snatched me up, brother. Now, put me in the car. I'm telling them, I said, what did I do? So I was able to call Sue Ann the manager, she comes out in the parking lot.
Now you're on private property when this is happening, right?
Private property. Sue Ann said, "What's going on?" She said, "He's a producer here. I mean, his vehicle is safe." This white guy that ends up being the chief of Chamblee Police made sure, he said, they arrested me, they impounded my van and my trailer, and took me to jail with Sue Ann out there telling them that everything is good. And then they jumped me saying I was looking for a knife. I had a Leatherman on the seat because I had forgotten my wallet, didn't know it. Man, they took me to jail, home.
Wow.
I mean, for a flat tire. And when I got to jail in this big monster-looking cage match, you know, he said, "What are you in here for?" You know, and I said, "Flat tire." And when I said that, he's like, he deflated.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
It never made the trial.
Abuse.
When I told the lady about it, she said, "I'm not even taking that before the
Yeah.
judge."
Well, what's crazy is that his stories go on every single day.
Exactly.
Over and over
They
and
hate
over
us.
and over again.
But if they can find you, so that's the question, you know, how do we avoid that? Because if they can, they will get you under any pretense to go through your car, to go through hoping that they'll find something bigger. But they hope that they have found a 9mm. Really, they're mad because they couldn't murder you.
Well, see, that's why I'm saying you cannot legislate. And see, this is the insider thing. You used a small microcosm of democratic power within a small myopic location. When we look at the general election, you've got the oligarchy that you have to concern yourself with, that control and manipulate through the electoral college or manipulations of the computerized systems or various other methods that they have at their disposal. So when we was telling me, and case in point, by the democratic process working, it's like, see, you know, it's like, it can work. And we know it can
on a smaller
if
level,
there were equal opportunity and judicial equality.
So then the question is, how do we combat this? What are some of the, because we know the problem. We can get on here and we can be problem. We can we can saber rattle, we can hoop and holler. So what do we start to do to start? Yo, man, you don't need crazy. Please throw it out there. Right.
All right. Well, you know, that's why I really started digging into this and doing the research and trying to analyze this and answer that very same question. And I have came to the analysis, or to the conclusion, excuse me. I have come to the conclusion that the only way that we're going to be able to stop the pretext or the excuse for them targeting us and racially profiling is we have to end prohibition. We have to end the prohibition of drugs because that's the excuse that they use to continue to incarcerate us in massive numbers. So I've been teaming up with Sharon here, the National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws, the ACLU, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, Drug Policy Alliance, and there was a letter that was sent to President Obama.
Doug, I'm sorry, I got to jump in. So you think the legalization of weed is going to stop them from pulling a carload of brothers over?
Well, it's a start. It's a start. It's a start.
Yeah, but at least if they
because
don't
they
smell
use that.
it, if they smell it, they're not going to use it. Listen, for real though.
Talk to
How
me.
many
Look at the
people-
number of.
For real, no.
I mean, no, for real. I'm not sure that that's going to stop that as much as we may hope it does, but it will keep them from necessarily searching the car just because they smell it on your sleeve.
It's the excuse they use for stop and
it
frisk.
is.
Stop
It
and
is.
frisk in
Stop
New
and
York.
frisk in New York.
They
Stop
use
and frisk. They use 5 million Black and Latinos in like about a decade period. That's about 1,600 people a
And
day.
it's all
And the
over
excuse
pot
that they use,
and
the probable
drugs.
cause they use to pull you over and stop and frisk you is we were looking for drugs.
They were looking for. Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand, but let me ask the oracle. Go ahead, Brother Gideon.
Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter, warrior, king of all time, other than Yeshua, the king, showed you what dissent, legal, dignified dissent, and how you fight against this system. You don't vote for the system that oppresses you. You don't support the system that oppresses you. And that I have to show and say that is the prime example of dissent. Because see, this system is designed to do just what it's doing, and that is oppress, enslave, and it is an unequal distribution of its wealth.
Yes.
from its foundation.
Well, I would say to that, until we get organized enough to, to let's say boycott certain corporations and not give them our business, then basically we're really economically and politically under the whim of what they say.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how slavery is.
Unless we vote, unless we
Exactly.
participate in the democracy.
Listen,
I'm all for that. I'm all for the people
Yeah.
controlling the political, the social, the economic situations in their community.
They
But
have to.
we're not doing that,
see,
and we're not getting organized to do.
This is the other thing. Not going to the military. That's why they made it a volunteer situation.
Let me let Sharon, because I know that you wanted to say. I don't want you not to have you, so you wanted to say.
Oh no, I'm enjoying the
Yeah.
conversation. I would say another book that everybody needs to read is Michelle Alexander's.
The New Jim Crow.
The New Jim Crow.
Absolutely.
Mass
Absolutely.
incarceration in the age of colorblindness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you don't think that ending the drug war is going to do something, you need to read that book.
Yes.
I think
Because,
that it will.
It's not gonna fix everything.
Right.
It's not the catch-all that's gonna fix everything. But we need to start helping addicts.
Yes.
If we did that need help, and the ones that want it, and we're not gonna save them all. We're still gonna have people dying in our streets
Certainly.
on heroin and things.
Certainly.
But we need to focus that and get off of the marijuana thing. Because listen,
It hasn't killed anybody.
A lot of
Right.
the people that are sitting in these jails,
Right.
they may have gotten caught their first time with pot on the street.
Right.
It could have been a shoplifting charge.
Yeah.
But what put them back in jail?
Right.
They got a dirty pea screen.
Yeah.
for
Right.
pot.
Exactly.
You know,
And
but-
they keep going back and
Exactly.
back and back and back
Exactly.
over
Look how much
marijuana.
money is
Absolutely.
And
wasted now.
so,
And it's a lot of
It's
money.
a cash
wasted.
cow.
That's what I want
Yeah,
to jump
it
on.
is.
Two folds with what Sharon is saying and what Gideon said. First of all, you and I go back and forth. We will not agree on that. I don't believe that African people here in America are in a position to sit back and do nothing.
Well, I didn't say do not do.
Well, I mean, when you don't get involved with the processes that dictate your life, the monies that's allocated to our communities come from politicians.
Sure.
The buildings that close down in our communities are closed down by politicians. If we sit back and we don't do anything, then we will always be at the whim of other people. There is no way to, and we're not talking about in national elections. We're talking about just case in point with like what Sharon said, start locally.
Or the
Your
state.
magistrate, your local wardsman. If you know who you're voting in for your councilman or whatever, you can go hold him accountable. This cat, you can actually jack up in the collar and say, look, man, you know what I'm saying? I voted, dude. So, and I want to say that. Secondly, I want to say about the herb thing. And this is, I got to come with the hard, Sharon. Is this a case of white people all of a sudden get caught up in the weed trap? Now it's a big, let's legalize it?
it could
Because
be.
white, now it's
And I will say that, and I will take responsibility for that, because again, I was that person that had
Exactly.
no idea what was going on.
Right.
But let's don't kick that cow in the face. Okay, we need each other, right?
Truly.
So
But y'all not
it's
going to forget about us after weed gets legalized, are you?
Well, I mean, we the
Forget
ones that's in
about it.
jail though. with it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, because
That's a question from
it's
most
a
of
question, it goes on after we
Now,
went.
this is not all we have to do. There's a lot more work to do.
Exactly.
absolutely.
And that's
and
my
it's
point
not,
in
to
case.
me personally, it's not just about legalizing weed. It's about ending the drug war.
Right.
That's all drugs.
Right. And
mass
the drug war,
incarceration.
And mass incarceration, and they're
and
all
as an
in one.
African
But
here in
see,
America, that is
this is
specifically
the
targeted at us.
issue. These are fanciful ideologies based on the subservience of the proletariat wanting to rise above their station that they have been systematically put in.
Right.
Capitalism must have a permanent underclass. So when
Right.
you have, it's the fuel and the engine for the capitalist corporations that use the poor to fuel and champion their economic causes,
Right.
their political causes. Just like we saw the young man come out as a sexual deviant in an NFL. And he's the first. He wants to identify before he goes in that he's a deviant. But that was a political move.
Right.
Yeah.
But who was the last great athlete to make a political statement? Once again, Muhammad Ali.
My excuse.
Yes, sir.
But here's the thing: is like we talk about the capitalist repression, this and that. What agencies are they using? They're using the police as their arm of enforcement.
That's right.
To impose this on us. So I think
IRS.
yeah. And we're talking about, but right now, they are using that. But right now, we're talking about, when we're talking about the proletarian, when we're talking especially talking about the lumpen, as my boy Franz Fanon calls us. Those people that, you know, the dope dealers that push even under the working class, even under the proletarian, the dude trying to get the job. You know, we're targeted by this police misconduct. And a lot of times, what ends up happening for us is like when you're drowning, you'll reach out for any hand that'll save you.
Exactly.
I want to make sure that once we reach out for this hand and we do fight the war on drugs, that is not only the war on drugs. I'm not thoroughly convinced that just the war on drugs will with this fight, end racial profiling. It's opposition as Africans here in America that we're looking at. We have to look at what capitalism was founded on. And then we have to look at who is enforcing it, not on the larger scale of the politicians, but how do we start with this militarized police force in our community, kicking out doors?
Well, see, now, this is the point. When you tell me that what my dissent is doing nothing, I have to say, nay, sir.
What is it doing, sir?
It is actually organizing groups like this individually in neighborhoods, and they're called churches, they're called organizations, but these organizations are based on premises such as what we have is unifying about clean water, having food, paying off bills. That's what these organizations, so there are nodes within the community structure that are becoming aware and that know this is police conduct is rampant, that our communities are under attack, the black male, the prison industrial complex, all these elements have come together, but what you're talking about is white supremacy and slavery and oppression. So once again, we come back to the original point of how you fight against it. You don't vote for it. You don't support it. You form coalitions.
You don't vote for it, you vote against it.
Well,
Eureka!
Right, you don't vote for it, you vote against it. And that's what I'm saying is, and we can let you go, Doug, that I don't think when you're talking about the water, when you're talking about the lights and things, all of that is politics. All of that is politics. There's no way to be involved, to breathe air here in this country, to breathe air, to walk around and not be involved in politics. There is no way around it. And that's why I see even the importance of, like we're talking about, legalizing the weed, because the point I made, whether or not, you know, it affects the white people, it still affects us. They're still using it as a reason to stop and frisk, to target us. So we have to fight that. But it goes to even just beyond that and just beyond the war on drugs. Our whole culture is under attack.
Sir,
Everything, you know, young men are being stopped and frisked or being harassed because their pants, because of cultural statements.
Thank you.
Because of dress statements. So our thing is,
in a land that's supposed to be free.
Right, and they're supposed to be free. And then that's a whole nother story. I'd have to talk to my young brothers about doing that because, yo, you can't be revolutionary walking around like that. Yo, you can't even fight, trying to fight, hold up with one hand and still reminiscing of shackles around you. Why you train? You're already getting ready to go to the chain gang. You're already walking like you got shackles on. You're training yourself. But that's a whole different, but that's a personal talk we have, brothers. You know, you let your uncle talk to you. But I say all of that to say because, and since our show is on police misconduct, I definitely won't stray too far from the thing, but I do want to touch on the war on drugs, legalization of marijuana. But I want to hear, I still haven't really heard, what are some of the steps that we can take to end it, some immediate steps? Do we have to write someone? Should we get out there? Do you advise young men to swing back at the damn police? Should we be armed? I mean, what are some real?
Well, I think what we're doing right now is a really important part of it, man. We got to get the general public and our communities educated on the issue, because a lot of folks are just completely oblivious to what is going on, and they're being hunted down. Your kids are being targeted, and it's like an ogre that's gotten out of control.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And the only way that we're going to stop it, like Michelle Alexander describes in her book, and when she speaks to folks, is that it's going to take nothing less than a massive movement, a massive movement to let the powers that be in this country and its politicians and the establishment know that we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to be considered less than human. We're not. Michelle Alexander, not just Michelle Alexander, but for the folks out there in the audience, I suggest that you look into the works of Angela Davis.
Yes.
She's been working on this for a long, long time. The abolition movement. There's a whole movement, and a lot of people who are learning more about how to resist the prison industrial complex and mass incarceration. Noam Chomsky is a good intellectual to read books. I mean, he talked about this years ago. Like at the end of the '80s. when corporations and really started leaving and going overseas in the factories, well, there was no more factories left in the inner city that were really trying to exploit black and brown people anymore. They just sent the countries, sent them overseas.
Right. Thank Clinton.
And so now we are considered to them the definition is called superfluous.
Yes.
A people that they don't have a use for anymore.
Exactly.
We don't have we don't need their labor anymore.
Right.
We're not really we don't need to exploit work. We can exploit the people over in Singapore or Bangladesh, have them make our clothes. So that's what's going on now. That we are considered people that they don't need.
Exactly.
We don't fit into their capitalist system to exploit to make money. So instead of working on poverty, instead of trying to find ways to alleviate poverty and suffering for people, they're just putting people in prisons.
Right.
You hide the poverty.
They don't need us.
You hide the poverty.
And they take you and not only put you in
Exactly.
prisons, they put you in prisons in small little towns like not my town,
Right.
but
And they
to provide jobs for
everybody, like Hamersham
poor
County.
white people.
It's become an industry.
Yeah.
It's
So you say that I've been down so they say
Yeah, yeah.
you say
Right.
So you saying that they don't need us. All right, we just gonna pack our stuff and go, man. All black folks.
But you understand what I'm saying, though?
I do. No, really.
As far as in the economic system, the capitalist model,
Right.
they don't consider that they have a need for us
Absolutely.
to exploit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to find a way out of it and trying to alleviate poverty, you build prisons to hide the poverty.
Exactly.
So I have a question for Sharon, because I know that was eye-opening, the story you shared with us, coming in and kicking it. What was your perception of the police? And I'm one of those frank people, especially you being a white woman in a northern Georgia, this and that.
Exactly.
I don't know how your
Now, I
mindset
grew
was.
up in Atlanta. I will say
You
that.
grew up in the
I
A.
didn't grow out.
Yeah, right. So, but I
Grew
mean,
up
what
out
was your
there.
perception of police and the whole serve and protect thing before that? Had you felt some kind of way? Was that an eye opener for you, or how did that affect you?
It was really an eye-opener. I mean, honestly, I wasn't a fan of the police by any means. I did grow up in Atlanta, so, I mean, I was born inside the perimeter, Georgia Baptist, I grew up here. I lived at Briarcliff and Claremont,
That's right,
went
that's
to Lakeside
Fort Worth,
High
Georgia
School. You know what I
Baptist.
mean? I mean, I knew, and I ran around, and so I had a little bit of leeriness, but being up in this small town for the time that I had been, which was probably about 10 years at that time, oh yeah, it was Sleepy Mayberry. I had no idea what was going on. And then, a few years before that, there was some racial profiling that was going on. So I was kind of woke up a little bit.
With
then
20
going,
black people?
Yeah,
how
we
hard
had
is
like,
that to profile?
look, those poor kids got harassed every time
Absolutely.
they left their
I'm
neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And they've done no more than, they've even shot one of the children
Right.
that was running through the neighborhood, trying to get away from him in the back. And we got rid of that policeman. But I mean, there's
job.
some bad stuff that I had seen that was kind of going on. But did I ever think that it would happen to me? No. I should have known. If it's going to happen, it's going to, and you do. I mean, I felt a lot of guilt for years that these children that had been at my home, these 20 black children in my community that, had been like our kids and had ridden our four-wheelers and stuff, had really been going through crap that I had no idea about.
Right.
And so I felt really guilty, and to some degree still do.
Right.
Because
Why?
because I should have known. I should have known this was happening. I grew up in Atlanta. I did not grow up in some white suburbia town where I didn't know what was happening. I had access to knowledge that I didn't have. And when they busted down my doors, the knowledge didn't just come right to me. I had to start researching. I had to start reading these books. I got on Google. I started reading about mass incarceration and about what was going on, and I educated myself. And that's why I work so closely with Doug and all these other people in the community is we need to educate everybody, regardless of what color or how old or young they are.
Exactly.
Everybody needs to know this because we're going to all need to join together to fix it.
And one of the things is, I don't think you should feel bad for not knowing. That's one of our greatest powers we have. as Africans here in America, we have been trained to have dualities, to have a dual personality. We have our professional voice. My mother used to call it her work voice. She get on for yes, this and that, yes. And when she get in there, clean the kitchen. So we've been trained to internalize our pain. We've been trained to not express or to share that with the outer world because a me versus them, and when I say me as an African here in America, a black versus them, that attitude has been fostered. That attitude has been cultivated through media, through different things, and so on and so forth.
I was going to make 2 points real quick. This is a great book. If you could show this to the audience. This is a book that just came out recently. It's by Dr. Carl Hart. It's called High Price. I just started reading this book. It's very, very good, very informative. And what this book is helping to do is to break down the myths and misconceptions and the lies that have been pushed upon the majority of the American public about drugs, about marijuana, about methamphetamines, cocaine. We mainly focus on marijuana because right now over 60% of the country is in favor of legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana. But this book is very informative because we've been told lies for so long, and a lot of people are just completely terrified of marijuana. Maybe they, when I was in college, I experimented. I don't use now, but the misconceptions and the myths. I don't.
I'm sorry.
I drive trucks for a living, so I can't. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I didn't drive trucks, I probably would be smoking some weed. I'd rather smoke some weed. I'd rather smoke some weed than drink.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd rather my child smoke weed than drink.
I mean, look how many people are dying from killing each other. All the drunk driving accidents, domestic violence. A lot of the violence that we have in our society can be attributed back to alcohol. But we don't stigmatize alcohol.
Right.
Alcohol is not stigmatized, but people who smoke marijuana seem to be put into this category like they're bad people. But marijuana users aren't bad people. They're peaceful, normal people just like me. I just want to educate a lot of the people out there and our viewers who may not have ever done marijuana and just think that it's some devil.
Well, believe me, I've been there, done that for many years, growing up as a flower child, older than everybody on the set. So,
What's a flower child?
Well, that was a generation of community. What would you call it? They just kind of separated themselves. They were separatists, peace and love.
Anti-war.
With the tie-dye shirt.
The anti-war movement.
Anti-war.
Right.
So I mean, they called the baby boomers. Right. I grew up in that generation because we knew that at the end of the day, that love was going to be love and peace. But see, that was on the back. Again, you have the ruling class. They recognize that love and peace is good, but it's not profitable. So when you have a capitalist system, you ask about how do we prepare ourselves on a practical sense individually. You learn about the laws. For me as a Hebrew, I learned the laws of my creator, my culture, and then you find that the laws of the land are based on biblical principles. So they tend to work hand in hand. So like you said, when the European was stopped, he looked at the police like, hey, what you doing here? Because he knows his rights. Many of us don't know our rights. And the organizations that we have, Rainbow Push, People's Agenda, all these organizations, SCLC, they're not advocating at the police department and in the judicial arena. They need to have community advocates in the judicial proceedings that can give basic information, because there can be cases that can be adjudicated simply on Miranda right issues that have not been, the police officer didn't give you your Miranda rights. Right. Or the police officer wasn't certified in a certain discipline to do. Now they have the actual ability, talking about police misconduct, to take blood from you.
Strap you down.
But you said something about knowing your rights. Many of us that know our rights, those are the ones that don't make it to the police station.
Right.
Hello.
Because if you sit there quoting your rights,
I went to jail in North Carolina, Paris Island, down there with my son. That's another story. Quoting my rights, my common law rights.
You're a smart one.
We're gonna show you where your rights are.
Where your rights. You're an uppity boy.
in the jail cell. That was my rights.
Okay, I just wanted to add real quick because we're running out of time. There are people starting to organize and mobilize against this stuff right now. And, Moral Mondays, which is going on from North Carolina, and it just got started here in Georgia.
Yeah.
We have a rally that's going on tomorrow. I know this broadcast will be after the event, but these are going to be going on throughout the legislative sessions from now until the next session and the next session, because we're trying to stop the ridiculous stand your ground laws that are going on across the country that have been pushed through by ALEC. So I want to give,
Is that ridiculous though?
Oh yeah, stand your grounds are ridiculous because look what happened with the case.
That's what I said. What if we start standing our ground?
Well, that'd be great if we did stand our ground, but the stand your ground laws are basically giving people with NRA cards and
the right
usually
to kill.
the right to kill if they say they're scared.
With impunity.
With impunity.
Right.
Kind of like the police.
Yeah,
Kinda like
just-
the police.
right.
But you're right. But I mean, is that something that can be? What
It's
if
a-
brothers
you-
start
you-
standing? Because I'm scared all the time.
Well, see, you got George Zimmerman's all over the place.
Exactly.
See, but that's what the super cop, the action hero, all of this that we've been indoctrinated, Superman, Batman, Ratman, all these other men that come out of the woodwork to suppress the enemy. Who's the enemy? Us. When we look at Star Trek, even the alien, what did the alien
Klingon.
have? He had dreads and
Yeah.
everything. He was black and dark.
I know some brothers look like that.
You feel me? And they were so.
No,
This is a mentality. This is social engineering, and the way we've got to fight it is with love. Because at the end of the day, that is the power that we have.
And we don't want to cut from Brother Dougie, and I just want to throw this in there.
Okay.
Real quick, Dougie, and I'm going to get you. We have to, like you said, the Batmans, the
Yeah.
Supermans, the things of this nature, we have to stop saying, like, I don't like the stand your ground laws. The only reason I don't like the stand your ground laws is because other people have used them against us.
Yeah,
But
thank
what
you.
if we start seeing
Disproportionately.
ourselves as the Supermans and the Batmans? We start seeing them,
Bloodbath.
right? We start seeing them as the enemy, and we start standing
But they
on
already-
stand your ground.
but they already
I
have
bet you
the-
they'll get rid of that damn law then.
They already have the statistics
waiting
that if
on
you
that.
do try to use the stand
Thank
your
you.
ground, they don't let you use
They
it.
don't let you. Thank you.
And the stand your ground,
Thank you.
when you hear on the media when they say, oh, well, they didn't use stand your ground in the case. Well, yes, they have, because the law is in the jury instructions. It's in the jury instructions, so that we don't hear that.
Exactly.
When they go inside, the jury goes in there and just they're
deliberates.
they give it in their final arguments. But they also, when they go in the law, if it's a murder case, they say that what I felt. All they have to say was I felt fear.
Right.
I
That's
felt
it.
threatened.
That's it.
And
That's it.
how are you going to prove that someone doesn't have a feeling of
Thank
fear?
you. Thank
So
you.
it's awesome.
Subjective,
That's
right.
Yeah,
deep, baby.
so we got to organize.
That's
It's the
deep.
same. ALEC is responsible for
insidious.
those laws. They're responsible for the escalation of the prison-industrial complex.
Exactly.
ALEC was this conglomeration of corporations. Where they were the ones responsible for most of the mandatory minimums that came out years ago in the early 90s.
Yes,
These
yes.
they're responsible for messing up the laws as far as protecting our environment, labor laws. It covers a wide range of things, but we're organized against it, and we have two different events that I want the public to know about that I think is real important. I wanted us to share. Normal has an event on the 22nd.
Of March.
It's called the Southern Cannabis
Reform Conference.
Reform Conference. It's on the 22nd. And then on the 28th, you can order tickets on Eventbrite. At Eventbrite, you can get tickets. And then also on the 28th, we have another event that's going to be similar with drug policy being the focus. You can learn more about racial profiling. The report that was put out from the ACLU. That's with Chad Brock. And then this is the flyer for our event. It's called The Dream Will Never Die, Strategies to End the New Jim Crow. We'll have Jasiri X, who is a activist, artist from Pittsburgh. He'll be coming and performing. Chad Brock from the ACLU. Adelina Nichols, who is executive director of Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights. She'll be there speaking about immigration reform. Kevin Miles will be talking about Trayvon's Law, which is something that's being pushed by the NAACP to stop our young people from being murdered from stand your ground laws. And then Neil Franklin, the executive director of the Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, will be there. He's a warrior fighting against this war on drugs. So
There are some
It's gonna
decent
be-
cops out there.
It's gonna be some things. And wrapping up, you want to give Sharon a couple minutes, 2 minutes to do, and then we'll have a couple minutes to let Brother Gideon brings it. Yeah, running in our last minutes. If you want to
Okay,
say
yeah, well,
anything out
thank you
there.
so much for inviting me.
Thank you for accepting the
And
invite.
I agree, it's going to take love and it's going to take all of us. And that will overcome eventually. But yeah, if you're interested, we have meetings at Manuel's Tavern every first Tuesday of the month. We're going to do a Know Your Rights
Who has
thing.
meetings?
Peachtree Normal.
Peachtree, you don't be burning.
Yeah, Peachtree Normal. I'm sorry, I forgot I got to throw in those names. We're the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And we have our meetings there from 7 to 9, and then every other Tuesday. And then we will also be doing that Southern Cannabis Reform Conference. It's going to be at the Georgia Tech Hotel and Conference Center on the 22nd of March. And I believe that's my phone, but I can't do anything about it.
And then the strategies to end the new Jim Crow is at the CWA Local 3204, and it's $10. And tell all your friends, tell all the public, we got to stop mass incarceration, racial profiling.
What if we come and say we saw Dougie on the show? Can we get in for 9?
I'm going to give you some tickets.
I'll
give you some tickets. Here we go. Here's some tickets.
I just want to say that for the people that's coming, the Congregation of Yeshua is having a Hebrew. It is having a Did You Know Forum. It is going to be on February 22nd as well.
Oh, no, March.
7 o'clock. It's going to be
First March
entertainment.
22nd.
Oh, okay. This is February 22nd. Entertainment, spoken word, choir, solo, musicians, refreshments will be served. This is going to, if you want any other information, 678-925-6024. That's 678-925-6024. It's at 568 LaDonna Drive, Suite J, 30032.
And learn more about the Moral Monday movement at moralmondayga.org. Moralmondayga.org.
And let me say this in my conclusion. Your boy Yanga can be the happiest dude. I meant to bring it to show the world. Went to my mailbox today, and they sent me a jury summons.
Yay!
All right. So keep your fingers crossed that I get selected from this jury. And, man, we'll be more at you. This was
Tell folks to read that too.
Yeah.
Operation Ghetto Storm.
Malcolm X Grassroots Movement.
Malcolm X Grassroots, MXM. We definitely deal with them, my boys and sisters, my brothers and sisters, at MXM, Operation Ghetto Storm. This is the arena. We want to thank all our guests for coming out.
Yes, sir.
My man,
Thank you.
Gideon hosting.
Yes, sir, brother
Ginga.
Ginga.
Today.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
dear brother.
Oh, no.
We want to thank Black Sun. We ain't forget about
That's right.
our sister
Blood.
Chi working the boys.
That's
sister
right.
Maxine who got us hyped up and
Baby.
amped us up, man. We'll see y'all next week.
That's right.
Sunday, same time. Same place, same
know how we
station.
do.
You know how we get down. The views, comments, opinions are not necessarily reflective of Comcast.
That's right.
We're doing our thing, doing our thing.
Yeah.
And yo, check us out. Peace. And do we say oh, let me gavel this.
Oh, wow, he gambling the folks.
Y'all
He
didn't
gambling
give me
the folks, man.
Y'all was so
Here
on
come
point
the
this
judge.
time. I'm waiting for somebody to get wrong so I can hit the gavel, man.
You can gamble them on down.
That was a great show.
No doubt.